Real estate and health insurance is what interests our community the most. And people ask me all the time if I am renting myself or if I bought a home for myself. I am renting, and just recently I bought an investment property for GermanReal.Estate in Düsseldorf. I'm not gonna buy a home anytime soon. I'd rather buy more and more rental properties while I continue to rent. But you're the real estate expert here, Vanesa. So did you buy a home or are you renting?
I'm the same as you. So currently I'm renting as well. Why? It's just I want to purchase into real estate, right? So as you did now in December, I want to do the same thing. I'm planning for more. So just renting gives you more flexibility in everything. Because when you are purchasing a home, means that the costs would occur, you have to pay it out of your pocket. So the best strategy, what I offer always to my clients and suggest to go first for a property investment, right? This property investment will actually help you to get a better strategy for purchasing your own and primary home. Just first of all, you have to cover completely all costs, so you cannot deduct anything when you're owning a property investment. And it's gonna be pretty hard or harder or more difficult to purchase a real estate investment afterwards. I think a rented apartment provides you with a passive income, right? Where your primary own home kind of limits your financial freedom, right? So better go for investment property first and afterwards do the primary home. I mean, everyone wants to live one day in a primary home. I understand that. But it also, the desires, the needs, they change over time. So if you're having a primary home right now, you might not really live there anymore. So you have to sell it again, you have to get another credit, you have to probably buy another property. So it limits really your financial freedom. And if you are planning to get a portfolio of real estate, I always suggest to go for investment properties first.
There's a really prominent German saying, which is the first home, you always build it for somebody else. Because it's exactly what you're mentioning. You think that's what you want, but then once you're in there, after a couple of years, you realize maybe that's not it, and you need to move on.
That's correct. And even the bank, I would say the bank terms look completely different for a primary home than for an investment, right? So most cases they want more down payment and everything else. In an investment property is they give you better terms, right? They give you better terms, and the banks, they love that, having you as a long-term client as well. As soon as they have you as a long-term client, they will even give you better condition for your primary home, right? So it's one and the other one, and even with the equity, but we're gonna talk later about this, this will also help you to purchase your own home. Yeah.
In terms of equity, it's so much easier to buy a small investment property first, 100K, 200K, 250K, something like this, and then pay this off a little bit and leverage from there to a home.
Exactly. This is what, it's gonna just make more sense for you, right? As you say, you paying off the property, right, with your principal. I mean, it's not you, it's the tenant. We have
and the government.
Exactly, we're having a third person who pays out your debt. And I mean, this equity or this payment, what you already did, this will help you for your future plans if you want to go for your own home or for more investments, even better.
Many people have a hard time wrapping their heads around that buying a home is not a great financial decision. It's more like a lifestyle decision, at least here in Germany. Because if you dig into the topic, which is what we've done over the last years and what we're doing here in these videos, and you actually do the calculations, then you'll see that buying an investment property beats buying a home in 10 out of 10 cases. But still, let's put on the homeowner perspective. Are there any good reasons why somebody should buy a home here in Germany?
I mean, buying your own primary home is great. Every one of us wants to do that. There are also great advantages. It's yours, right? No one can kick you out of that. It might not be an investment in the beginning, but with a later time, you create generational wealth in that. So you have it for your kids, for your grandchildren, wherever. And also, yeah, you're secure, but also the banks, right? So the banks kind of forces you to save, They force you to save, and it's not like giving money away, so you really have to look at your household calculation at the end.
It sounds bad, right? The bank forces you to save, but I think for many people it's actually a good thing that the bank says you have to bring the principal every single month. It's not like you can stop your pension plan or you can stop your ETF savings plan or something. You have to pay the bank. There's no way to avoid it.
You have to. And it's, I think, yeah, as you say, they force you, but it's at the same time it's great because, I mean, we're having such a high inflation right now, and I'll talk later also about that, but we're still spending money, right? We still have desires, and in this case, it's actually good that you are kind of forced to save to prepare also for your future. If it's an investment or, I don't know, saving on another way. And if you're going for your own home, you look at that completely different, right? So you look with an eye of purchasing your own home. So everything has to be perfect, right? It's not going to be the case. Like in every case, not everything is perfect. But if we compare the investment property, I always say, put your investor glasses on. Really look with a different eye on this property, because if you mix that up completely, you're not going to be successful neither in owning a own property or a primary property or an investment property. So really, these are two pair of shoes. And yeah, I mean, everyone works also for their own home, and at the end you paying out of your pocket, but you paying for yourself.
Yeah, so people always say rent is a waste of money, right? Which I feel it's not, but whatever, because I'm renting myself, and if I would feel it's a waste of money, I wouldn't do it. But just to be fair for you guys, if you feel that rent is a waste of money, then the interest that you're paying, because the bank payment consists of principal, which is you buying more and more of your property every month, but on top of that, you're not getting the bank loan for free, your mortgage, you have to pay interest. So if you think that rent is a waste of money, then you have to be fair and say, if you're buying a home, the interest rate that you're paying on your mortgage is also a waste of money.
Correct. I mean, every party wants something, right? The landlord wants the rent, and the bank wants the interest rate. Like, this is how it works in general. Nothing is for free nowadays.
Let's clarify this rent versus buy debate once and for all. It's probably not going to work anyway, because people will have follow-up questions, which is okay. Write them in the comments and we'll answer them together. But let's attempt, at least, to give an answer to this. Vanesa, you're the real estate expert. Tell us, why is buying a rental property better than buying a home?
I can give you a couple of very, very important factors. For example, the leverage effect. So what does it mean? It means that you're borrowing money from the bank for a certain time of period, and then you're having a third party, which is the tenant who pays out of your debt, right? Great thing. So it's not you. It's the tenant who pays out your debt.
And Finanzamt.
Finanzamt. This is also very important to know, because sometimes people think, I make money because real estate goes up in value. Yes, but the real thing is that the debt goes down in value. And this is where we have the inflation right now, right? We have a high rate inflation of 10% here in Germany, which means that you are also using the inflation as a tailwind. So you're taking that profit, the inflation with you on the backpack, and use it for your profit, for your benefits. Also another thing, because people think, oh, everything got expensive because due to inflation. Yes, right, but especially this kind of investment makes sense right now, because you can actually take the inflation with you.
Everybody who has debt basically profits from high inflation.
Completely. And this is what a bank knows, right? They know that. So, I mean, high inflation is also the after effect, or high interest rate are the after effect because of the high inflation. And they know that, but still, don't stop yourself. I mean, use inflation with you. And also an important thing, the pension gap. I mean, you know, better is just, we all receiving this paper from the Rentenversicherung once a year, and it actually tells you there that you have to cover the gap by yourself. Most of the people, they don't really read. They read the numbers. How much money can I get at the end of 65, 67 years, right? But if you really read it, the rental, the pension tells you that you have to really cover the gap for yourself. And it's pretty hard because still the government, there are some deficiencies, people living longer, right? So there is someone who had to pay for the older people. Number two is more and more people deciding not to get kids or less kids, right? So this is also kind of a big factor.
The pyramid scheme doesn't work anymore, yeah.
I know, or that way, exactly. And another thing is that the younger people, they staying longer in school. Longer in school, you doing your master, you're doing this and that. So they enter into the workforce later, right? So these are also facts where you really have to think about it if you're, of course, staying in Germany. But even if not, you have the opportunity to sell the property. Probably you guys heard, you can sell the property tax-free after 10 years. Even before you can sell it. I mean, we're happy to sell the property as well. I mean, you can buy the property with us. We also sell the property for you if you're planning to go to another country or go back home. But these options you have still from the government or the beneficial.
And where is this possible? Tax-free profit doesn't exist anywhere else.
No, it does not. And I mean, I love these two examples. Like one of the biggest real estate companies or providers is, for example, McDonald's. McDonald's didn't get rich because of fries and burgers and a Happy Meal or whatever. They got wealthy because of real estate, and they keep going. They keep going, buying and getting more and more wealthy, right? This is what most people don't know. Or the famous actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He was born and raised in Austria, left Austria, went to the US, and what did he do? He didn't go for, he did bodybuilding in a young age, but the first thing he did in the US was purchasing a property. So he made his first million up with real estate. So he really got rich because of real estate, not because of acting or bodybuilding.
He used that money maybe to buy more properties.
Exactly. I mean, I think he has a net worth of real estate over 100 million right now. So this shows you how exciting a real estate investment is. Even
self-made is incredible.
Amazing. I mean, you don't have to go that high, I don't say that, but just to give you kind of ideas how much efficiency there is for a real estate property. And as well, please keep in mind the energy costs are up right now as well. The renovation costs are up right now. So even if you're owning your own property, you have to do all this by yourself. Material costs are super high. We talked about getting the right craftsman, right? Getting an appointment with them, getting the right material. And if you are doing that, you have to do a really good calculation. So it's pretty hard to calculate that everything. And even if you do a calculation, I always recommend to go 20% more up on the calculation, just to be on the safe side. Yeah.
It's kind of an unspoken rule here in Germany, right? It's when you think it's going to cost you that much and it's going to take that long, the property, always put at least 10% more time and 10% more costs to factor in.
Exactly. And I mean, again, use the equity for your profit, right? You can deduct so many things if you're going for investment property. And even as you said, you don't have to go for a big one or an expensive one. It's really enough to go for 100, 200, 300K and also not to go with that much down payment, right? This is what, because if you go to the bank, let's say that, if you go to the bank by yourself, the bank will ask you, Axel, what experience do you have with real estate or someone else? And if someone says, I just read...
It's my first one.
Exactly, it's your first one. I just read a book. I watched some YouTube videos.
Watch PerFinEx YouTube videos, yeah.
They will say, okay, actually, that's not really an experience, right? And what happens then, that the bank gives you worse terms. They give you a higher interest rate. I mean, this is not a killer, right? But they just give you worse rates and they want more down payment from you. And this is what you don't want to have in an investment property. You want to go with a minimum, right? Keep your liquidity safe for other things, but having, again, to obligate or to outsource that obligation to a tenant who pays out your debt.
The buy or rent decision is probably the biggest financial decision of many people's lives. I mean, how often do you make a decision worth hundreds of thousands of euros, right? And it's not just that. This decision will change your life for decades, for the better or for the worse, depending on if you made the right decision. So, because it is such an important decision, what do we need to consider here?
There are a couple of factors to consider for sure, but I would say even if you have big numbers there, right, or on the paper, it shouldn't stop you, because you're doing this for your future, you're doing this for long term. I know sometimes even, Germany, the mentality is like, oh, no debt, no this, no that. So, but it just benefits you, right? And if you look at, let's say, wealthy people, they, like 80% of the wealth here in Germany, they got rich because of real estate. At the end, they had to take a loan, they had to take a credit, but they have a high profit right now. So just to have that clear. But there are also things that you should have, for example, the income. So what we say to our clients or suggest, have an income of minimum 2,500 net, which is important. And also check your household calculation, right? How much money you have left at the end of the month? How does your liquidity look like? Really, this is so important to check that before. You can do that even with us and with you, Axel. But this is very important to know. Also, the Schufa score. If you're able to check that, it's super easy nowadays. You go online, you order that paper. I think meanwhile you can also see it online. But if you have the ability to do that, go ahead and do the Schufa score. This plays also an important role for the banks here.
This is a deal breaker, yeah.
I know, it is. Also the down payment, right? Some banks, they want more down payment, but we suggest to go at least to cover the additional expense, which is the notary, usually between 1.5 and 2%, and the property taxes between 3.5 and 5%, depends on the province in Germany. So I will go between 7 and 8% of down payment, which will give you a better rate. If this is not the case, it's not a deal breaker. There are also other options to talk to the banks and to find another way, an option, but this is just a suggestion from us what we...
Yeah, because what people have to understand that banks basically look at the whole picture. So if you're 45 years old and made 150K over the last 10 years, but you have zero in your bank account, then the bank is going to say, what happened? Where did this guy spend for the last 10 years? Where did this guy spend his money? And if he doesn't have a single cent in savings, basically, why would they give you hundreds of thousands of euros? Exactly. It's of course a lot different for somebody that's like 30, 35 years old, also maybe just 100,000 or just 50, 60,000 in income maybe, but has already 20, 30,000 on his bank account in savings.
Yeah, that's correct. That's absolutely correct. I think nowadays a lot of people looking also where they put their money. You have so many investment options, that's for sure. But we know how the bank works, right? We know what they require, and these are factors they really, really require, right? That's very important. And I always say it's never too late to invest. It's never too late. If you're 45 or 50 years old, there is still some time. There's still some time. Especially, even at that age, probably you have some money aside. So there is time to do it, so, right? Why to wait, especially at that time, why to wait? Another big point is the residential status, right? So make sure also you're having a blue card, you have a permanent resident. Of course, if you are having a German citizenship or if you're having a Europe Union passport. These are factors what matters, and based on that, the banks looks at this.
Yeah, PR really helps, right? The permanent residency.
It does. From experience, we had plenty of clients that had a blue card as well, and it worked out pretty well. This is just an individual consultation, I would say. So if I'm having clients, they're not sure about it, we go into that consultation, we talk to the banks, and then we can see if that's really the right one at the moment. Right?
Those are really the three things, right? It's first of all, it's you as the buyer, everything with you has to work out, your financial situation,
Exactly.
Schufa score, savings, residency card and everything. Then it's of course the property that has to work out.
Exactly.
And then the third party is kind of the bank that finances you, right? You also want a good mortgage that suits your personal financial situation.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say the finance part is the heart of this investment. It's so, so important. It's so important to have great bank contacts, which we have. I mean, our clients are super happy with the bank contacts. We having that special service with them. We having all these good conditions with the banks because we are connected with them. You know, if you do it by yourself, you're gonna end up going from bank to bank to bank until you get the best offer for you.
Ruining your Schufa score on the way.
That's true. Ruining the Schufa score, that's the other part. And time consuming. That's so much time consuming going from bank, and especially it's in German. People trying to explain you something, so it's just time consuming and also connected with money, right? And especially time. That's a big factor. Another very important parameter is that you should have have the correct mindset for that, the right mindset. This investment is a long-term investment. It's not for a short time, right? You're planning for long term, so you are developing your property until that point that you can live from the rent, right? So you want to increase the value of the property, so it's really long term. And on one side, you should be committed also to go for that investment, because to wait, right? Especially if you're not, let's say you found the right property, the bank works out and everything, and you're still deciding what to do. Everything works out, right? You should be really committed to that, because again, why to wait? We waited 10 years, we waited 15 years. It's never gonna be the right time. I think mindset, a great mindset is the key really to be committed for this type of investment. And this is what I always also say or ask my clients, right? I mean, we're asking our clients, say, how committed are you to really go for this investment? And if we especially provide all the services, I mean.
Because the property is not waiting for you, right? That's the big difference between, if you're not committed with an ETF savings plan or whatever, you can always buy that ETF, maybe at a higher price or lower price, nobody really knows. But one thing's for sure, no property in this day and age is waiting for any investor. So if you're not committed, the property's gone.
Exactly. That's really a big point of that. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, like an ETF, you don't. We're gonna talk about this later, but what I want to tell you is that in an ETF, you don't even look how the logo looks like, how the color looks like. It just makes sense from data, facts, and numbers, right? This is what really matters. And this is what holds so much people back, which is great. And they just don't do it because of the situation, everything. It's always going to be a weird situation. We had Corona, we survived. The war is going on, we are surviving, right? It's always going to be an uncomfortable situation, but if you don't start really doing something, you're going to regret it one day. And this is what I hear every day.
When we talk to people about buying a property, some want to visit a property before buying. Most don't, because let's be honest, if you're not a real estate expert or let's say a real estate appraiser, I don't think you're getting any real value from visiting the property anyway. If you're not a real estate appraiser, you probably want to get a real estate appraiser who checks the property for you, and then you can trust on him because he's visited the property. You don't really need to do it. What do you think, Vanesa? Should people visit a property before buying it?
I believe, or I think the digitalization reached Germany massively, so we are in a good way, and there are so many options right now, not really to visit the property. I mean, I have 9 out of 10 clients, they're not visiting the property, right? If you do it by yourself, again, I think you should, right? But if you're having an expert on your hand, you don't really need to. Why? Nowadays, I mean, what I like to do with my clients, we are doing the virtual. We are visiting the property virtual. It's there's a provider called Matterport. You can do that. So you can check into all the Google Maps. So you can really see every street and every building, right? And the most important is that all the documents. So again, saving from for the building and everything, they were already pre-checked. So the appraisal was there. an appraisement has been done on this property. We checked all the documents, so everything is clear. Then you can go for it, right? If you have to do everything by yourself, I suggest to do that so. But if you're having someone and an expert and everything is clear, and I would say go for it. And also at the end, what I mentioned, numbers, data, and facts, this is what really matters. Same thing like with the ETF, you check the numbers, you check the data, you check the facts, and this is the same thing on the property. A property is an asset, so you can really touch it, right? So one day if you're, I don't know, or now in Munich and you're in Düsseldorf, you can still go there and check it out. I mean, you can still see it from the outside. You can probably also go inside, but there is not really necessarily to visit that because the examination process right now is so digital and so it's so awkward that you can see everything online. I mean, I'm seeing my clients online, right? So there's a company behind and everything works out. So there's not really a need if everything is transparency, right? Everything was pre-checked before, it's transparency. There is not really a need to go there, no.
I feel real estate is an asset that you can see and you can touch, and that's, I think, the big downside of it, because it's so misleading, because people say, okay, I'll go there, then they visit it, then they see, okay, the walls are white and everything looks pretty, but that's not the way to look at things. You need to check the Homeowners Association protocols if they want to do the heating system in a couple of years, or if the roof hasn't been fixed for the last 50 years. This is what really costs you money. Painting the walls white, you can get somebody for 100 euros or something to do it.
Exactly, Axel, what you're saying. So this is what really matters. The costs are on a different position, not on the wall, on the floor. I mean, if you have to look at that again completely different. So you put your glasses on, like in your investor glasses, look at that completely different than purchasing your own home. And I mean, even the heating system right now we having here in Germany, they improving all the time, right? So these are the big factors: heating, roof,
Windows. Couple of weeks we had somebody reaching out that they basically, it was an old house that he bought, not with us. I don't think we would have said, okay, go for it, but he did it anyway. And then he reached out because they renewed the windows, completely new windows, and now the whole building is molding, because with the old windows, basically the building could breathe. Now it can't anymore, so everything's molding.
Yeah, these are very important facts that you have to check into that. And if all this is fine, I always say go for it. But again, appraisal, expert, get it on your hand, and people who know about this. Otherwise, you're gonna end up paying way more money, right? You're gonna pay way more money. Better dig into all this information before and have the full transparency on this point.
Vanesa, thank you very much for the interview. It was a pleasure for me.
Very nice. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a great interview with you, especially with a great view here over Munich. So thank you for having me here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to work with you guys.
And if you want to meet with Vanesa, there's a link down in the description below. Have fun, guys.